word snitch. Now, if I'm wrong, I didn't say it.
So
I think I read that.
So there are delicate problems here. But wait, there's delicate problems here, and there's delicate problem where you have a kid, all right, who is either non-binary or trans, who feels scared at home, feels unsafe at home. Those things do happen in the world. There are things that happen in the world. But for the most part, that's not what we're talking about. For the most part, what we're talking about is a teenager who has felt that they are they have a gender dysmorphia. So what they feel like is that they feel deeply unhappy, depression, all really rampant.
Yes,
and they go to their parents.
They feel that, and then they blame it on the thing that has been put in their mind way too much, that it may be because of you're in the wrong body, to put it probably wrongly, but that we understand what that means. Okay.
What is up, everyone? In this clip, we have one of those moments where Bill Maher, the king of unfiltered takes, absolutely schools a woke TV host on live television. And they're going to be talking about the highly controversial trans debate, entrapment, and why this conversation is so explosive right now. This is one of the best clips I've seen of Maher and his ability to debate. So without spoiling anything, let's just get into this clip where, of course, I'll be giving you my unfiltered take as we go through it.
Now, it could be that case. When Trump said there's only two sexes, again, pendulum swinging way too far to stupidity, okay? Obviously, sex is more complicated than just two sexes. There are people who absolutely, are quote-unquote in the wrong body. But when you're a kid, when even a teenager, and you're that confused about everything and you have no idea and you're upset for many other reasons, the idea that they put it, let me just finish.
I'm not saying it.
I know. I could see you were ready. I could see you pulling back the bow. And the fact that they put this in their head too much, that's my thing. Should you tell a kid, look, there's a default setting for humans, male and female, but there are variations. That's absolutely true. Some people are attracted to people of their own sex, and some people are actually in the quote-unquote wrong body, and that does happen. But the amount that they emphasize this, I compared it once on my show to entrapment.
So
see, there you go.
I disagree. I'm sorry. Is that not the end? Is it? No, I thought entrapment had a period at the end.
Could I explain it?
Yes, explain. I think we all get it, but yeah, explain it. Entrapment.
I don't think everybody does get it.
Okay, explain it.
Okay. Well, what is entrapment? Entrapment is when you suggest something to people that they weren't ordinarily going to do. I used the example of after 9/11. The FBI got caught basically entrapping some people, which is what they went to people who excuse me, I'm not done.
All right, I'm sorry. You're right. Honestly, that was rude. That was rude. That was rude. Bill, finish. You're explaining how being trans is like being recruited into Al Qaeda.
Well, that's glib and
absolutely 100% glib. Stupid and glib.
It is.
Yes.
Because it's not true.
Right.
And you didn't even let me get through the
You're
thing.
right.
And now I got to go.
You're just going to leave? We're in the middle of a debate.
Yeah. No. Okay. I'll finish this. Entrapment. Like, okay, so they go to somebody, they go to a group of guys. They did this in a group of poor black guys in Miami and were unhappy with America. And, hey, wouldn't it be great if we blew up the Sears Tower in Chicago? And these guys didn't even have a gun. And it's like, yeah, I hate America, or I got problems with America. That does sound kind of cool. And, hey, well, we can get you the explosives. That's entrapment. Okay? You put an idea in people's heads that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
I think this is a good spot to pause because this is an excellent point by Bill Maher, in which he's talking about the entrapment analogy. And what he's basically saying in summary is that constantly pushing the idea of being trans on kids, especially when they're already confused, is like putting ideas in their heads that might not have been there otherwise. And I agree 100%. Because if you're constantly telling kids, hey, maybe you're in the wrong body, are you helping them or are you creating a problem that wasn't there to begin with? I don't think he's trying to say that being trans isn't real or valid for some people. He's saying that when you're dealing with kids who are already navigating a minefield of hormones, peer pressure, and identity crisis, you have to be careful about how you frame these conversations. It's like if you walked into a room full of teenagers and said, hey, have you ever thought about joining a cult. Some of them might laugh it off, but others might start thinking, well, maybe I should join a cult. And that's the danger here, because if you're telling this to kids, you're planting seeds that might not have grown on their own. And for some kids, that could lead to life-altering decisions they might later regret. And also, Maher mentions the FBI's entrapment tactics post 9/11 as a comparison, where the FBI would go after vulnerable people, often poor, disenfranchised individuals, and basically suggest they commit a crime. These people weren't out there plotting terrorist attacks on their own. The idea was put into their heads by someone in authority. Because when authority figures, whether it's teachers, influencers, or even doctors, push these ideas on kids, are they helping or are they potentially doing harm? To be honest, that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind, and I think a very excellent point made by Bill. Of course, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Do you think that this is a dangerous idea and that this could actually be true? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and let's go into these other major points.
Do I think in most of America they did that in schools? I don't. But I think in enough of them, in enough far left places, they did constantly have this idea in the minds of children that maybe you're not in the right body. I mean, the New England Journal of Medicine advocated for taking sex off of a birth certificate, I believe. It was like you're assigned sex at birth.
Yeah.
You're assigned.
I think that's right.
I was assigned it by my dick, okay, when I was born. Yes, and again, to tell kids it doesn't always have to be and isn't always the default setting, but that's a different mentality than they put in the minds of kids. And that's why this debate goes on. And the fact that you think, or a lot of people on the left think that even if you just have this debate, it makes you a bigot, you just have to roll over. You asked about the Biden administration. That was their position. If you even question this, you're some sort of a bigot. And this is new science, and it has to do with children, and it's not going to look good in the future, that position.
Can I just respond to something?
Now you can.
Now I can respond? All right.
This is where Maher is starting to drop some truth bombs. He's pointing out that this push for gender-affirming care for kids is new science and not in a good way. What he's basically saying is that we're essentially experimenting on children, and history doesn't look kindly on that kind of thing. I mean, in 20 years, are we going to look back at this and say, wow, we really got that right? Or are we going to see a wave of regret, lawsuits, and broken lives? I mean, just a decade ago, the idea of giving puberty blockers or hormones to kids was considered extreme. Now it's being pushed as this standard of care in some circles. But the issue is, we don't have long-term data on the effects of these treatments. We're essentially rolling the dice with kids' lives, and that's a huge red flag. I'm not saying that being trans isn't real or that some adults don't benefit from transitioning, but when it comes to kids, we need to be extremely cautious. I mean, this could be another example of society going too far, too fast, and then having to backtrack later. I mean, think about lobotomies in the 1950s or the overprescription of opioids in the 2000s. Both were hailed as groundbreaking solutions at the time, but now we look back on them with horror. And I think it's pretty important for us to make sure we don't make that same mistake with gender-affirming care for kids. Are we really helping kids by rushing them into life-altering decisions, or are we setting them up for a lifetime of regret? It's a question, honestly, we need an answer to before it's too late. And of course, you guys can let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but let's go into the remainder of this clip.
Can you just all right, let's just there's a lot. You definitely said your piece.
Just say your bullshit while I'm in the bathroom.
Just stay here for 1 second.
Okay, I'm kidding.
Unbelievable.
I'm kidding.
All right, no, I know. Okay, a lot of things there. First of all, this is going to sound confrontational. For a long time, people said, older gay people are recruiting kids to be gay. And they wouldn't really be gay. It was they were being recruited, they were being groomed, that they were being drawn. That was their conservative position. The Christian right position for a long time was the reason you didn't want to have gay teachers is they're going to recruit. That the gay lifestyle is going to look so enticing and so exciting that it's going to bring these poor defenseless boys, they mostly boys, into the gay lifestyle and destroy their lives. But of course that wasn't true. Really, all gay teachers were an example. Right?
Yeah.
Look, there are a few examples of people getting older and realizing that they shouldn't have transitioned. That happens. It's real. That's real.
Yeah, more than a few.
But there are also really important surgeries that people get for their heart and they go wrong and somebody dies. And nobody says we must stop the cardiologists. No one says we must stop the surgeons. We say,
That's your analogy?
Well, my analogy is only that wait, let me finish.
I'm just
Can I finish?
Yes.
Is it my turn to talk?
No. You're right.
And what you say is, let's make sure that this version of it is being practiced well. We don't get rid of the specific surgery. We don't throw out a whole field of medicine. We say, let's make sure we're doing it in a way that's healthy. The science, the research, all right, makes clear that yes, there are exceptions. Yes, there are people practicing it in ways that maybe go too far. But for the most part, study after study shows that gender-affirming care saves. I'm talking. It's my turn. I was so quiet for so long after I interrupted a few times.
But okay.
But once I stopped talking, boy, I was good at it. And that gender-affirming care saves a lot of lives. And the truth is, we talk about these edge cases, talk about athletes, talk about locker rooms, but for the most part, what we're talking about is a very small group of people that just want the opportunity to live and express themselves. And there is a war on that group of people from the right to make salient extreme cases, edge cases, not for the purposes of stopping those, but for doing what the Trump administration is doing entirely, which is stopping all gender-affirming care altogether and making trans people fucking nervous when they have to pee at the airport, right? Which is the end result of all of this.
And of course, that's awful, and I agree with all that, except the part about the studies. There was a very big story this year. It was in the front page of the New York Times. A woman, I forget her name, and she had done, like, it was a 10-year study, did not release it on purpose because she said it would weaponize the argument from the other side. So in other words, it came out not the way you wanted the study to come out.
Yeah.
Not what you said, that it's, all the studies show that. No, it is a mixed bag. That's true.
Okay.
Some people, yes, it's the right thing. But to take that risk at that age before you know shit about anything, yes, sometimes it's pretty obvious that this should. It's a very hard call to make. And again, this was a very long study, very thorough, and they wouldn't release it because it came out with the wrong conclusion.
And this final part of the debate is where it gets really spicy. Maher references a 10-year study on gender-affirming care that was deliberately hidden because it didn't support the narrative. Like, let that sink in. A major study reported by the New York Times was buried because it didn't fit the agenda. I mean, that is massive, and it's a perfect example of why Maher is so skeptical of this woke crowd. The study in question reportedly found that gender-affirming care isn't the miracle solution it's often made out to be, but instead of releasing the findings and letting the science speak for itself, the researchers decided to hide it. Why? Because they were afraid it would be weaponized by the other side. In other words, they were more concerned about protecting their ideology than telling the truth. If the science is so solid, then why are we hiding studies that don't agree with it? I mean, it's a fair question and one that the woke crowd doesn't want to answer. Science isn't supposed to be about cherry-picking data to fit a narrative. It's supposed to be about seeking the truth no matter where it leads. And let's not ignore the irony here. The same people who claim to follow the science are the ones suppressing the studies that don't align with their views. It's like they've turned science into a religion where questioning the dogma is hearsay. If we can't have an honest conversation about the risks and benefits of gender-affirming care, then we're not doing science, we're just doing propaganda. Like, that is, at least in my opinion, a major red flag. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts on this point and all of the other points made within this clip and just generally this debate as a whole? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.